This is Dying Your Way.
Welcome everyone to the Dying Your Way podcast. My name is Claire O'Berry and I am your host. And today we're going to focus on a topic that's just so important. We've already covered quite a bit, but in keeping with the chronological progression of the disease and the chronological challenges that you will likely face, today we're going to cover the conversation that you have with your doctor and how that conversation is so important to make the informed decisions that you will be facing right now. And I just wanted to welcome all of the newcomers to this YouTube channel, podcast, wherever you are. And if you're listening to it and you feel like there is someone, it may not apply to you, but you know someone that it would apply to, please like it and share it. You can subscribe to the channel. It's absolutely free, and it will really help to get the word out so everyone can have an easier time of it when it comes to health challenges that we face. So I want to start by saying medical science has advanced so much in just a relatively short amount of time, and we can anticipate that it's just going to advance faster with the new technologies that abound and how quickly information is shared. So everything that you're facing right now, it's got a whole new set of rules to look at your disease progression. I want to start by sharing with you a personal story because it really applies to this particular module. And that's about a situation that my husband is going through right now. And a lot of you know Terry, and he has recently been diagnosed with Parkinson's disease. Now, he had symptoms that we were both aware of for probably about a year. And 6 months ago, I was actually in Texas at the time, but he saw his doctor here in Australia. And I wasn't there to know what happened with that conversation, but he left that appointment knowing the likelihood that it would, and they were just going to watch it and see if there were any progression. And so last week we had the next interaction with this doctor where I met him for the first time. And really nice man and very respected in his field. And he did more tests, and I'm watching the test, and I'm at the end of it, there really wasn't any kind of pronouncement yay or nay. Now, I know with Parkinson's that can be, you eliminate other things that it could possibly be. But my frustration came that I just had to flat out ask him, is it or isn't it? Because I wanted to know what we were going to be looking at. And he said, based on this, he named about 3 tests that he gave and how Terry did on those tests, it is. And so, boom, there's the clarity that all of a sudden decisions need to be made because of this. And the frustration that I had was that I had to be the one to ask him to just say it. And Terry, by the way, is very happy with me doing the talking. If you know Terry, you understand why. But yeah, so it was one of the things why I'm bringing this story up is that this conversation with your doctor is so important for you to make informed decisions. But doctors are human beings, no matter how great they are at what they do, they are uncomfortable giving bad news. And you have to give permission to let them tell you the truth. And you may agree, you may disagree, you may get a second opinion, and we certainly are going to do that. But it doesn't mean, there's any fault in the doctor. It's just like you have got to take the responsibility to be your best advocate or have your medical power of attorney with you to be that advocate for you. And, I might interview Terry later on about this because I really don't want to speak on his behalf, but there's a certain amount of fear, like, oh my God, this is going to change my life, and the plans that I had, not my life, his life. But when there's a clarity and you can actually overcome this initial shock or fear by taking action. And when I'm working with clients, I really want to know maybe the things they don't want to know, but if I am going to help them, I really need to know what it is that we're dealing with here. So once you get this information, and I'll share more about that as it goes on, but going back to the improvement of medical technology, you can have a disease like congestive heart failure. You can have a disease like COPD. You can have a disease like Parkinson's. And you can have it for years. You can have it for decades. In the case of Parkinson's, you're probably going to die with Parkinson's, not of Parkinson's. And that was the case for my father. He died of cancer. He did not die of COPD, which he had, and he did not die of Parkinson's, which he also had. So just, put it in perspective and be real honest with yourself and with your doctor about the other comorbidities that you might have when you're given this diagnosis. Because if you're relatively young and healthy and you don't have comorbidities, you're probably going to exceed the statistics of mortality from this disease. If you're older and you have multiple comorbidities, likely the reverse is true, and you will not meet the statistical average of what's there. But it's all based on, and your doctors will know this, what the statistical averages are of the length of time that you have. And that's really what you want to know, isn't it? In these conversations, you want to know how much time you're faced with to enjoy life, live life, and plan for having a quality of life at the end of life. So anyway, getting this prognosis is a way you can advocate for yourself. Now, a diagnosis is, of course, this is naming the disease that you have because of the symptoms that present. That's your diagnosis. The prognosis is the likely trajectory of that disease. And again, that's based on statistical averages. You are not a statistic, but you can get an idea about how much time you have, what kind of challenges health-wise you're going to be facing with this particular kind of disease that you have. And then you can really start looking at all of the variables in your personal life and start putting a plan together. And if there's any goal for you from listening to this podcast today, it is that you will develop an action plan for yourself to move forward, to make the most out of the time that you have. And every minute is so precious. We want to make the most of that time. So anyway, I gave the example of how frustrating it was that I was the one as the medical power of attorney that really had to get specific with the doctor about this. Now, this is one conversation that we'll have with this doctor. And, it's about the diagnosis. And I said, I'm going to go and I'm going to Google everything. And he was just like, yeah, I know. But there's going to be another conversation that's going to be equally important. And that's really the conversation about looking at the end of life trajectory that goes along with any one of these chronic progressive illnesses. So it's not just a one and done conversation, but it's a conversation that's specific to your diagnosis and a conversation that's specific to your prognosis. And when you book this appointment, be sure you double book the time so you don't feel rushed, your doctor doesn't feel rushed, and you can really be prepared with pre-prepared questions after you've done your Google research. And you can really have a pretty detailed conversation. See this meeting, this appointment, with the end in mind. Go into the meeting knowing the outcome that you want to have. At the end of this meeting, I want to be able to plan my next year. At the end of this meeting, I want to be able to know if I'm healthy enough to travel to India. At the end of this meeting, I want to make a decision about the timing of when I actually ask for a hospice referral. Know what your end result of that meeting is before you go into the meeting, and that will really help you stay laser focused. You take your medical power of attorney into this meeting with you, and they can serve a purpose just by having, well, first you introduce your doctor. This is my medical power of attorney. So if it gets to a point where you can't speak for yourself, they know that they are legally can speak honestly, openly with the medical power of attorney, and that medical power of attorney knows what your wishes are and is there to make that happen. We talked about having a list of questions ready. Now, in the end of life training that we have, there's a long list of questions that really will prompt you to go in there with quality questions. I mean, garbage in, garbage out. You really want to be very specific about not only the questions you ask, but to get the answers that you want. When you're reflecting, now you get your idea of what you have. And now it's time after this meeting for you to reflect on what your next steps are going to be. You don't have to make any quick decisions, but you do need to spend some time reflecting on that. For example, what do I do now? What are your next steps? How do I want to use my time? Who do I want around me? And where do I want to be? What kind of care do I want? And what kind of care do I want to avoid? Good time to pick up your advanced care directive and see if you want to make any adjustments or tweaks now that you know what your prognosis is. There are treatment pathways for every disease, and some of them are pretty prescribed. You have this, and this is what the typical protocols are if you have this particular disease. There are alternative treatments that a lot of people do. Some people just choose to just do that. That's a choice. That is a choice, and I'm not discounting that choice. But many people will look at doing conventional treatments, what we call curative treatments, treatments that are designed to, whether it's surgical or chemotherapy, radiation, things like that, that are dialysis. I mean, depending on your disease again, that are curative or can be quite invasive, but they really do slow down the trajectory of the disease. So many people will choose to have curative treatments and maybe blend in some alternative therapies with that. Now, as the disease progresses, I mean, you're going to start in the disease and have probably very few symptoms. Maybe the symptoms that, took you to the doctors in the first place, but you're living your life normally, and maybe you're taking some medication now to control those symptoms, but it's really not changing your life much. But as the disease progresses, there will be curative treatments that you're doing, conventional protocols that you're doing. And when the symptoms need to be managed, maybe they're even symptoms from the treatments, that's the time to ask your doctor for palliative treatment with your conventional medical treatment that you're getting. So you can have curative treatments with palliative care. Now, what is palliative care? It's not necessarily hospice, although hospice is palliative care because it's a team approach. But you can actually get curative treatments with palliative care if you know to ask for it. And that is, all of a sudden, there is a team of people that are supporting you to get through this disease. Maybe it includes a occupational therapist or a swallow expert, or it includes a social worker. Maybe there's even some sort of spiritual counseling or psychological counseling that is part of this palliative team. And as you're doing your research for where you are going to get the best care possible, you want to know if there are palliative teams in place to support you with your diagnosis as the disease is progressing. So, curative treatments with palliative care. At a certain point, the curative treatments become not useful. They are painful often or cause discomfort, and can be, if you're in the United States, expensive. And so it's not something that, if you're doing a cost-benefit ratio, it's really not giving you the benefit for what it's costing you in not just financial terms, but other terms as well. And so if you've already had a palliative team in place, it's pretty easy to get and to ask for a hospice referral. There are a lot of myths about hospice, and we'll probably divide a whole podcast just to that. But yes, that's when you stop all curative treatments. A lot of people statistically live longer once they get their hospice referral. Now, you're not going to get a hospice referral if you're not ready for it. But if you are ready for it, oh my God, the difference it makes. 80% of people, really want to die at home. You can't die at home without hospice care. Only about 44% of people die with hospice care. And I don't care what country you're in, there is someone that is going to provide hospice care for you that will make all the difference in the world. It's so respectful of your dignity. It's all about quality of life. And I just see it a couple of times a month, and it's really makes such a difference. And the families are so supported as well. I know when I got hospice care for my mother and father, I felt like I had 10 tons lifted off of my shoulders, because all of a sudden they were doing the heavy lifting, and all my main job was just to love my mom, just to love my dad. That was my job. And it was because of them that I was uh, afforded that wonderful opportunity to be with my parents and for them to die at home. So, as a disease progresses, transitions are really a reality that will be in your face. Mother started living in her own home. She went to a retirement home. She went to my home. She went to an assisted living. She went to a long-term care. And then she came to my home. Now, each one of these are a transition. Each one of these moves takes a lot of logistics and planning. Costs are involved. It's something that end of life doula is excellent, because they are very aware of these transitions. A good doula will anticipate these transitions and have the next transition with your approval in place, so it can just go seamlessly and like clockwork. My father, he started in his own home. He went in and out of the hospital several times. Each time needed support. After the hospital, he would go into long-term care. Then he would come to my home. Then he'd go to assisted living. And then he would go back to the hospital, go back to assisted living. And then he would come home and spend the last few months of his life at my home because of hospice care. So this is just part of a chronic progressive illness. And just know, every time there is a transition, things can go wrong that affect the quality of life. But if they're pre-planned, if they're in advance, if you know where you're going to go before you go there, you've done your review research for different facilities, you feel pretty confident when you make those transitions. So each transition will be an indication of needing a higher level of care. And there are criteria for each one of these transitions. And the main thing is your safety and security, quite honestly. When you're in a long-term care facility, a memory care facility, you need 24/7 care. And, well, I won't get into my personal preferences, but my daughters, my husband, are very aware what I do and I don't want in that scenario, and when to stop doing any kind of curative treatment for me, because there are just situations I desperately want to avoid. And I want to be home like my mom and dad. That's what I want. So each one of these transitions to facilities, it's going to require planning. It's going to require paperwork. Got to have your paperwork. Got to have your medical power of attorney with you. And it's going to just presence. You as a medical power of attorney, or you as a patient, just really having a presence and a clarity of focus about, I'm taking this next step. I acknowledge this is in my best interest, and then you can go into it and make the best of the situation. So different living options that are part of what we look at the end of life, and you probably know this, but let's just kind of review them. Staying at home, everyone's number one choice, and we're going to devote a whole we do devote a whole module, a whole week in the training on how to stay at home. But today I just want to cover there's independent living, which could be a retirement village. It could be a married couple, they are downsizing and maybe one has more health needs than the other, but the spouse is able to look after them. And these can be very lovely places with great amenities and social activities and quick access to medical care if it's needed. There are adult daycare programs. I looked into that a little bit with my mother. It didn't work for us. Probably larger communities are going to have several, and you will want to review them and visit them and see what it's like. They should have some pretty good social activities, but it's a safe place for you to put mom or dad while you go to work. The sandwich generation, you need to work to support all of this. So adult day programs. There are assisted living. This is not quite independent living but they're lovely places, and they have great food, and they have social activities, and they have someone with a medical background that's always there that can assist if there's a medical issue that arises. But you're pretty much still independently living, but with some oversight. And then for people with Alzheimer's or forms of dementia, there are memory care facilities that are very specific for working with people with Alzheimer's and other kinds of memory care issues. And that's 24/7. But again, should be really nice. Long-term nursing care, and that is 24/7, round-the-clock care. There's always a registered nurse that's there. There's a caseworker, a head nurse, charge nurse, duty nurse, whatever you want to call them, that are there. They distribute all the medications. They work closely with the doctor. And that's probably, to me, I'll just be honest, I don't want to go. It's just expensive. It's big turnover in the workforce. Now, I was lucky for mother and daddy, but I was there a lot, eyes on, and hospice was there a lot, eyes on. Another reason to have hospice, they can go to facilities and they can be an extra set of eyes and ears. And yeah, just as you're looking at this in advance, do your research, look at reviews, get feedback, ask your questions. If they're not open to answering your questions, that should be a red flag. Every one of these facilities that I mentioned should respect your dignity. They should respect your autonomy. They should treat you and the people that are coming to support you with love and respect, and they should be safe and they should be clean. And hopefully they're friendly and they've got some stimulating activities along with it. Just do your research. Can't say that enough. You got to do your research. So just then talking about hospice and the role that hospice provides, again, it's that palliative care team. They're going to be able to assess quickly whether you are, and your doctor will be the one that gives a referral for this. They're going to be the ones that say, yes, you're ready for hospice, or no, you're not. And the criteria is right now, it's a month, sometimes a year to when they project your end of life. And because hospice is so great, people often exceed that time. And so they have to be reevaluated. And that's okay. My dad went off hospice a couple of times, but was right ready to go back on when he needed it. So utilize hospice and do it earlier. Waiting till, literally it's a few days until you pass away. You miss most of the benefits that hospice provides. And just find out the hospice facilities that are nearby. Are they amenable to going into different facilities? Are they, certainly do they come into the home to work with you? Just what is their philosophy? And some are profit, some are nonprofit, but all of them have, guidelines that they have to go by, no matter what country you're in, there are guidelines that they have to go by. And if you don't qualify for hospice, ask them, okay, if I don't qualify now, is there a pre-hospice program? Sometimes hospitals will provide this. Are there palliative care programs that are part of that? I'm aware now, and we'll be looking into palliative approaches right now at the early stages of Parkinson's that we're looking at, where I can get palliative care, type care in here right now, free. So it's not, don't let cost be the thing, because there are a lot of good nonprofits and information, even with telemedicine and with way people can come into your homes and support you by doing what we're doing right here. So don't think it's not going to work for you. If you have internet access and if you value quality of life and managing symptoms and things like that, social situations, mental situations, you really want to reach out for support. So just final thoughts on this. I want to reiterate again that you want it to be a clean and safe environment. You want to get medical support that aligns with what they call goals of care. So depending on where stage you are, you want medical services that match that stage. And you want to be valued. You don't want to be managed. You want to be treated with dignity and with respect, because, damn it, we all deserve that. No matter where we are in our life, we all deserve dignity and respect. So that's it for today's episode, folks. I just really appreciate you being here. And again, if there is someone that you think could benefit from this, please share it with them. We have a Dying Your Way Facebook page. So if you want to be part of a community that can support you, that's a great place to go. I'm just walking this path with you, not only as an end-of-life doula, but now as a wife supporting my dear husband. And we just love each other, and we want to love deeply and for a long, long time. And I do think that's in our future. So thank you all very much, and we'll see you next week.
Thank you for joining us on Dying Your Way. If it's inspired you, then please spread the word. Leave a rating and review so others can find out about us. To learn more, connect with us on Facebook or our website at dyingyourway.com. A special thank you for the artist Mel Dobra for letting us use her song, Smoke and Flame, as the soundtrack of our show. I invite you to return, hear each episode, and be part of the conversation on death literacy. I am Claire O'Berry, and this is Dying Your Way. Reaching